Many thanks for staying with us. Now, let's, of course, tell you that ahead of Saturday's governorship election in Edo State, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has said 2,249,780 registered voters have collected their permanent voters' cards, that's PVCs, in the state. This represents about 85.57% of the 2,629,025 total registered voters in the state. This election will be keenly contested. Of the 17 candidates on the ballot, the three frontline runners are Senator Monday Okpebholo of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Mr. Asue Godalo of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and Mr. Olumide Akpata of the Labour Party, LP. However, issues around security and fears of rigging still lingers, many fear an escalation into violence. What will be the fate of the people of Edo State this weekend? Well, joining me to discuss this are my guests who are joining for now virtually. I have Dr. Sam Amadi, is the director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. He joins from Abuja. Also, Olu Martins, the deputy director for media for the Edo PDP Campaign Council. Of course, he will be joining virtually also from Edo State. And Monday Amawa is a member of the Labour Party, also joining virtually. Gentlemen, once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, let me start with you, Monday. The Labour Party, a lot is happening. There are layers of, what I call it, internal crisis, as we know it, particularly when it comes to legal issues. My question to you is, what is it looking like for the Labour Party this weekend in the global polls?
My brother, I don't like deceiving myself. Sincerely speaking, it's not looking bright for Labour Party.
You said it's not looking bright for the Labour Party.
It's not looking bright for the Labour Party.
Why is that?
And it's quite unfortunate. Now, the party is enmeshed in several leadership crises. Abure is still holding sway as claiming that he's the national chairman of Labour Party. One Oka for Callistus is claiming he's still the national chairman of Labour Party. Mr. Alhaji Lamidi Apapa is holding one side. Then the recent one now is the one set up in Abia State by the governor of Abia State, Oti, and the presidential candidate Peter Obi. A critical committee, they target, headed by Senator Namadi. Nenadi, rather. That is that. Then the NLC also set up one critical committee. Don't forget that about a couple of months ago. So all of these have impacted negatively. So what would have expected from Labour Party in this election? As I speak to you today, by Article 14 of the Labour Party Constitution, it is only the national chairman that can preside over meetings of the party. By virtue of that, it is also that national chairman that can constitute committee of the party. No committee was constituted by Abure or Okafo or Apapa to chair or to spearhead the Edo State.
So if I'm to ask you this directly, you said it's only the national chairman. You are a party member. According to you, who is your national chairman?
My brother, I can't tell you, but what I can tell you now for sure is that Abure said he has conducted convention. And by law, that convention, whether you like it or not, still remain until set aside by court. I'm not in support of Abure. For those that know me in Labour Party, all the cases I've done in Labour Party, they have all been against Abure. Even up till now, I'm in Supreme Court against Abure in favor of Lamidi Apapa. But Abure was supported by the like of Obi and the OT and all the stakeholders that are claiming to like Labour Party more than any other person today. When we were shouting that Abure is not fit to continue as the national chairman, they tagged us as agents of APC. But suddenly today they woke up and they announced calling for the head of the same Abure and they want us to join them. Abure has already conducted a convention. Wrongly or rightly, that convention remained valid until set aside by court. INEC has no power to say a convention is not proper or proper.
Because that would take me to what INEC actually did say concerning the leadership of Bure, saying that his leadership has, his tenure has expired, and for that reason, they do not recognize that leadership. I mean, this, of course, is grave if the umpire is saying this, and it should have a significant impact on the party's chances at the polls.
Ade, let me tell you, I'm speaking now not as a politician, but also as a lawyer. The point is this. Okay, let's even look at, I cannot say Amadi leadership is valid. Why? Illegality can never produce legality. Why is it illegal? The Article 14, sub 1 of the Labour Party Constitution states clearly that it is only the National Secretary that can call for meeting of the party. The question you now ask yourself is, who called for the meeting that took place or purportedly took place in Abia State? Some persons said it was the Anambra State governor. Others said it was Peter Obi. Others said it was stakeholder. The question is, does the Labour Party Constitution recognize stakeholder? The answer is no. So you don't expect me to now say, oh, Nanadi is the leadership of Labour Party today. The question you ask yourself is, how did she come about the leadership? From what? Who called for the meeting? Who issued the notice for the meeting?
So in all of this now, according to you, as a party member, who is Olumide Akpata in Edo State?
Well,
on the party contest?
It's a governorship candidate in Edo State.
Okay.
Don't forget, my passion, we contested against Olumide Akpata. As I speak to you, our matter is before Supreme Court, of which we are expecting judgment either tomorrow or so.
So you also contested against Olumide Akpata at the primaries?
I'm the deputy governorship candidate. Yes, for the Akpata faction.
Okay. So you said your matter is still in court?
Yes, as I speak to you today, he got judgment at the Court of Appeal. Of course, tentatively, he's still the governorship candidate of our party as of today. Let me talk as a lawyer. But who know what might happen by tomorrow or next tomorrow? But today, Olumide is the candidate of the party. All
right. Let me leave you for a moment, Monday. Let me go to Olu Martins. Olu Martins, before now, we know that the People's Democratic Party did not say they were not going to sign the peace accord, which, of course, they didn't. And they gave reasons, saying that reasons bordering around security and all. But right now, we see the governor who initially will I say condemn the activities of the IGP, giving the IGP a thumbs up, saying that he's confident in the capacity of the IGP, you know, and also INEC to deliver credible, free, fair polls. I would like you to react as a party member, strong party member. I would like you to react to this. What is the situation right now, particularly when it comes to the issue of, number one, the peace accord, and your initial concern as a party as regards the security architecture in the state? We've spoken on this program before. So what's the update?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Again, I'd like to always quote Patrick Henry because the inclusion of the media is a guarantee that the collective freedoms of the people can be secured, because without torchlighting very critically the activities of political parties, political leaders, and then perhaps would be people who want to preside over common patrimony. Without the activities of the media, we cannot guarantee freedom. So we must give the media thumbs up for active participation in the political process. Let me say again that in every election is a multi-stakeholder approach. It involves the umpire, in this case INEC, it involves the political parties, it involves the police, and then it involves the voters. So there are probably 4 tiers at the last count. Unfortunately, is that INEC doesn't have its own police, so INEC must depend on the police and other security agents to be able to whip people in line so that they conform to the norms of a democracy. Fortunately, you have Dr. Sam Amadi there. And I listened to him a few days ago where he said, we can't trust politicians to self-regulate. All over the world, politicians have demonstrated that they are in need for what they can get and what they can and how they can annex Nigeria as a part of their own private estate. Before now, and a few days ago, I also had the opportunity to listen to the first PRO, and I thought that the first PRO wasn't convincing enough, because the reason why it said that they were arresting members of the People's Democratic Party is because they connected them to an event that took place, I think it was in June or so, where there was some shootout in the airport road. A few days later, a very popular newspaper, I mean, I do not want to mention their name because they went ahead to withdraw their claims, published names of at least 16 people who were involved in that fracas at the airport road. And apart from what the newspaper published, we saw on social media and even on live television, people who were bearing arms, and they were bearing arms around the All Progressive Congress, movement. So everybody that we saw on social media in that fracas, in that fallout, the members of the All, Progressive Congress. Many of them are known goons and known characters in the, Edo public space, especially politically. So if the police was claiming, for instance, that the people that it was reining in for questioning were in regards to that, particular thing that took place in airport road, why has it not invited any of those characters that we saw on television? As a matter of fact, one of them made a very, very insightful statement, and I quote him: "Get body go surplus for this election. Una go learn new things." That individual was in the company of another self-styled pastor, or that we saw in those videos, and indeed on national television, have not been invited. But we have seen the police move into people's homes, and they have moved them 4 a.m. in the morning. We saw the chairman of our, of one of our local government, precisely local government that I am from, College Aibugu, was weeks at night. And before we could gather ourselves together, 4 a.m. in the morning, he had been transferred to, Abuja. And we're saying there's something called, convenience of, or, forum convenience, like the lawyers, like to put it. If it happened in Edo State, and then you move them to Abuja, you feed our suspicion that there is an attempt to move people who are strong in certain areas out of circulation, which is typical of what happens, in the Nigerian, electoral space, unfortunately, to the negative. So when they came with the peace accord, we reasoned that peace is not the absence of crisis. It was Wycliffe in his song Dialogue that said we want peace. We don't want peace, we want equal right and justice, because peace is not the absence of crisis. There are indications in a political process that guarantees that you have peace. One of it is equity, one of it is fair play, one of it is justice, and another of it is the fact that we must ensure that one of the stakeholders, or both of the critical stakeholders, which includes the INEC and indeed the police, demonstrate overtly too that they are not the police of a political party, but the Nigerian police who have
so with the endorsement of the governor right now, has the police with the endorsement of the governor right now, has the police demonstrated the spirit of fair play, with Governor Obaseki's endorsement ahead of the polls?
The governor is the chief security of the state, and indeed the leader of the party. And I'm sure that there are accesses that he has, and perhaps engagement and meetings that he has gone to, for which certain assurances, have been given to him, and not just to him, perhaps to the candidate and the chairman of our party. So if the governor says that there are such assurances and that there are guarantees, in a manner of speaking, that the police will act like the Nigerian police and not act as the police of a political party, who am I? I am the Deputy Director General in charge of media, and publicity. I will go with my principal, the governor of the state, and with leadership of the party, and hope that those assurances come 21st of September, we play out. And we're not asking the police to play to our side as a party. We're simply asking the police to ask the police to ensure that everybody plays by the rules of engagement. Simply put, the police should be professional and should defend every voter in spite of the leaning or proclivity or intentions or tendency of any voter.
All right, let me leave you, Mr. Olu Martins. Let me go to Dr. Sam Amadi. Now, Dr. Sam, I would like to believe you've been following the turn of events in Edo State, particularly across the party lines. From a, will I call it, very informed standpoint, What are your observations, particularly in the past weeks, and what do you see panning out along these parties come this weekend?
Well, first, I think the background is that Edo politics has a tendency to be violent. We've recorded perhaps close to River State. Edo is one of those hot, hot spots in Nigerian politics, the Nigerian election. So it's the tendency is there. That tendency grows or declines based on how state institutions play their role, namely the INEC and overall the security. The second observation is that in the last week, we've seen the intensification of campaigns. I have to commend the three leading parties for what looked like intense focus on campaigning. We saw the Labour Party, both Mr. P2B and the governor and a couple of their leaders have been in town for 3-4 days or so, moving from not just the normal rally in the stadium, but moving to local government. We've seen, of course, the PDP has been extremely very intense on the ground in moving from various places, not taking anything for granted. The APC too has been intense as well. We've seen the vice president coming to Benin with a couple of governors and some governors and the candidates and the proxies effectively going out. So this is an election, minus violence or any form of manipulation. It's been a election because all the parties have invested time and resources to win. And it makes sense, because, of course, it makes sense because Edo is a gateway in many ways. Edo is a gateway to South-South, what happens to South-South. It can shape what happens in the South.
Dr. Sam Amadi, I would like you to speak particularly in the area of security, because there are concerns that
sure. Okay.
There might be, cases of violence, maybe possibly rigging, given what we have seen in the past weeks. What's your take?
I think there's strong prospect of violence, except three things happen. Look, violence is always with the support or connivance or diffidence of the security network. Look, this is how elections are set up. Electoral system allows only INEC accredited police officers to man polling units, and they don't have arms. Their job is to protect material and electoral officers and voters. So if there are no weaponization of the process, if private entity actors, candidates and their lead campaign officials do not come in with violence, sometimes with personal police, security personnel, to disrupt, to intimidate, then you have less violence. And again, there has been an improvement. I've been critical of INEC in terms of what the leadership does with issue of IRF and order, but there has been an improvement in the electoral technology, electoral management system, such that manipulations are difficult to happen, except with the connivance of top officials and security officials. So votes, after the voting, the agents are there. Once they are vigilant and available, they ensure the results are signed off as accurately recorded and counted, and they are transmitted to the IRF as the case might be. So with those results, it'll be difficult. The days of collections, multiple collections along the way, enable this kind of violation. So if INEC chairman, and this is a case where I think the INEC chairman will probably isolate the controversial, quote unquote, rec who has clear affinity and the relationship with the Minister of AFCT. So if they can isolate those instances, and they normally bring national officers, I will employ the INEC chairman to bring in national officers from very different areas who don't have any connection to either candidate, at least known connections. In regulation, you recuse those who have pecuniary, family, or all kinds of ties for the purpose of the election. If they do that, as they have done in some cases, and bring national commissioners to supervise, then there will be less incidents for violence. And I think the burden is on the Inspector of Police.
All right, Dr. Sam Amadi, I'm sorry. We need to go on a quick commercial break. You would definitely pick up from your last point. Of course, do stay with us. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining us, this is Politics HQ on News Central Television, and we are, of course, discussing matters arising ahead of the Edo polls to hold this weekend in Nigeria. Well, joining my list of guests, I have with me live in the studio Olu Martins, Olale Oni is a public affairs analyst and, of course, is also a member of the All Progressives Congress. Thank you for joining.
It's my pleasure to be here. Good evening.
All right, good evening. I still have my guest, of course, joining virtually, talking about Dr. Sam Amadi, the director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. We also have Olu Martins, deputy director of media for the Edo PDP Campaign Council, who also is joining virtually, and also Mondemawa is a member of the Labour Party. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me. Let me go to Olamileko on this one. Now, the All Progressives Congress, your candidates in the Edo polls, Monday Okpebolo. I mean, for people that, of course, are following the trends, particularly on social media, there have been videos where he made some gaffes, and this has raised concerns as regards his competence and, more importantly, capacity and academic qualifications. I would like you to speak on that.
Well, if you ask me, gaffes are normal things that are like mistakes that almost everybody makes. If you have followed political incidences, speeches all over the world, across the world, people make mistakes in their speeches.
But looking at the weight of some of these gaffes, I mean, there was one of those videos he talked about insecurity. Okay,
insecurity. There, he was talking about electricity and transformer and all of that.
Yeah.
Where I'm going is this. You see, making gaffes doesn't determine capacity or what you can do when you get into governance. One of, in recent times, the last election we had in 2022-2023 campaigns and all of that, we saw how, candidates of different parties made, mistakes and gaffes and all of that. What I'm saying in essence is that people can have, make this kind of mistakes, but it doesn't determine what they can do or what their capacity is or what their academic qualification is. I accept or I agree that some of these things he said about security, and I don't know if you heard about the one he talked about, about electricity, where he talked about transformer, and I'll give you wires, I'll give you 24 hours electricity.
These are different scenarios, not once, not twice.
Yes.
I mean, it's becoming a pattern. And you're saying it shouldn't be a pattern of concern.
No, for me, what I'm saying in essence is that doesn't determine his capacity.
So what determines his capacity to lead the people of Edo State?
Yeah, now, number one is this. Does he have a manifesto?
Anybody can write a manifesto.
Yes, anybody can write a manifesto, but not everybody follows that manifesto. People get into governance. People have given good speeches before, spoken good English, orators and all of that. And at the end of the day, they get into government and they still don't perform. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when people come on, podiums and speak good English and tell you this and all of that, at the end of the day, they get into governance, and at the end of the day, they still don't perform. Okay, so what I'm saying in essence is that oratory prowess or lack of it doesn't determine your capacity.
Now, you talked about what is capacity. I mean, you questioned the issue of capacity and said that should be a yardstick. Now,
I'm saying that shouldn't be a yardstick.
Capacity
if you make a mistake, it doesn't determine whether
the extent of his capacity. So I'm going to the aspect of capacity right now and track record.
Yes.
We know that he was a senator.
He is a senator.
He is a senator.
Yes.
What are his achievements in his constituency?
Well, I might not have all of that offhand presently because, number one, I'm not a spokesperson, but I know that Senator Monday Okpebolo has been in politics for a while. He has held offices. And one of the things that the people of his senatorial district has looked at for them to vote for him would have been what he has done in the past. So probably, or most likely, he must have performed in one position before he gets to this position. So I believe that he has something to show, for example, to the people of his senatorial district, and then before they voted for him as a senator, and I also believe that he has what to offer.
All right, let me bring in Olu Martins of the People's Democratic Party into this conversation. Your candidate, I believe you had quite a number of the things Olalekan did say concerning Monday Okpebolo of the All Progressives Congress. Olu Martins, there are also concerns that your candidate, even though is a maverick when it comes to the corporate space, he's been chairman, MD, he's led several board meetings, he's an achiever when it comes to business, but a greenhorn in politics. So I would like you to speak on that, because, I mean, this time around, you are not just leading people in the business space. I mean, it's a political field where you have to, harmonize and synchronize, and it seems to have little or no experience in that. Should that be a source of concern for people of Edo State?
Thank you very much. I appreciate my brother Alamide. And I can also understand his constraints. I see where he's coming from. He's a sound fellow, but he's a member of the All Progressive Congress, and he owes the duty of attempting to promote his party. But because he's not from my state, I would just, quote unquote, pass by some of the things that he has said, because if you make gaffes over and over, it's no longer a mistake. Like they say, once bitten, twice shy. When it is consistent, and it becomes a pattern. And then because I think it was Winston Churchill that said, the man who holds the gift of gab has more power than a noble king, because he can turn situation whichever way that he wants to turn it. So, and then because our eyes are not X-ray, we can't tell, like Shakespeare said, you can't tell what is in a heart, what is in a man's heart by facial expression, except you verbalize it. That's why the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Except you tell us the things that you want to do. We will never be able to measure capacity except you voice it. And he will agree with me too that we must raise our standards as a nation for what we require as leadership. All over the world, your capacity, especially for democracies that we copy, your capacity to be able to articulate your views seamlessly. It's one measure that people look at. At any rate, we send our schools to send our children to school so that they can speak, very well. And if our children came back from school and they can't speak very well, I'm sure we'll probably remove them from the school or remove them from the home teacher who is teaching them. But like I said, he's not from Edo State, and I can understand, what his constraints are. I'm a little bit disturbed when people talk about greenhorns, because I don't understand what people mean, by greenhorns. In the first instance, I do not think that Nigerian politics, the way it's designed, is actually easier than the corporate world. Because what do we do in Nigeria? We have a unity system.
I'm sorry, you said Nigerian politics is easier than the corporate space.
It's easier than organized private sector. It's easier than organized, private sector. Yes, it is easier. It is easier because what you do is that you manage other people's money. You should pretend over common, patrimony. All right, it is unlike a capitalist system that requires, certain rigors. I mean, to tell you that it is easier, we by ourselves have told ourselves that what we require to be president or governor in a state is, WAEC. I mean, come on. If we think that it is so difficult, we will not require the most basic academic, qualification. And then if you look at the organized, private sector, for anybody to ask you to be chairman of a board, and at that, not small boards, but very major companies like Nigerian Beauties and a couple of them, there are no mediocres. And there's nobody who even wants to employ as little as the manager of a petrol station, who will not require, the best of hands. And indeed, I am a little bit weary about people who have circulated themselves within the Nigerian political space in the name of having experience. All over the world, leadership is leadership. And your capacity
I'm sorry to interrupt
is directly proportional.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm still going to take you on this. You said that being the chairman of a board of a company is a subset of society. Now, we are talking of an entire state that has different tribes, different temperaments, different, ideologies. And you are saying that leading, in the corporate space is way more difficult than leading politically. I'm trying to make sense of it. Please, can you further, expatiate for the people of Edo State?
That the way the Nigerian system is run, where we go to Abuja on the 22nd or so of every month, tap in hand. Have we not seen governors?
I'm sorry, we seem to have
for 6 months and did not attend the business greatness of the state. Have we not seen governors in this country and state, to the crisis that it has? No, it is real. And I'm telling you that system is structured.
Mr. Olu Martins, we seem to have a bit of connectivity issues with you. If you can hear me, your connection seems to be breaking. But let me bring in Monday into the conversation. Monday of the Labour Party. Monday, I want to believe you've had all that has been said. And, I mean, you claim to also be a candidate in this race, even though your case is still in court. I would like you to speak on what exactly you feel the people of Edo State needs right now in terms of leadership.
Well, I think before I go too much, before I go into that, I want to quickly chip in something. My friend from the APC part stated something clearly that is not from Edo. Coincidentally, myself, Monday Okwebolo, because we also share the same name, Monday Okwebolo, then as well, we are from the same senatorial district. And you were saying, you raised the point that if he has not been tested, he will not have been given an opportunity to go to the Senate. Now, Edo State is one of the most experienced place to do politics. For instance, in Edo Central, where we both hail from, myself, Monday, and Aswe, the rule is that you don't go to Senate more than 2 terms. In other words, after first term, they give you the second one. After that second one, you must give power to the next person. Now, the man then who was of the PDP extraction, Mr. Odia, have done first and second term. And according to the tradition, he was supposed to go back, go home, and allow another person to come in, but he refused. And then my people, are from the Central, very enlightened group of people, said, we will not support you anymore. Rather, we will turn to anywhere else. Which was why, of course, at that point, Labour Party would have been the one that would have clinched the senatorial slot. Unfortunately, Abure mortgaged that seat. Otherwise, just like we have the Imaswe of the Labour Party in Edo South, it would have been Labour Party in Edo Central, where Monday came from. But that is outside of it. The kind of leader Edo needs at this point in time is a sincere person. We are not looking for a leader that will come to feed the Godfathers. We are looking for a leader that will come and develop Edo State.
Okay, so I put it to you. Is Olumide Akpata, in your words, a sincere person?
Olumide is not my word. It's from Edo. No, yes, Olumide is a sincere person, no doubt, to the best of my knowledge, because he has. Don't forget, he was the former NBA national president of the great association, and he actually did well. I must give that to him. But the point is this: as it stands today, what Edo State is looking for is a man that can deliver for the people and not for the Godfathers. We have long left Godfathers during the time of Oshomole. So anybody that will bring us back to issue of Godfather again, we are not interested. So what Edo State is looking for is a leader that will work for the Edo State people and not for political leaders.
All right.
That's what we are Edo State looking for.
All right. Let me leave you Monday. Let me come back to you, Olalikon. A lot of shots have been fired at your candidate. I mean, part of it having to be that they don't want a leadership that will work for Godfathers. We know that Adams Oshiomhole has been a vocal voice behind Monday Okwebolo.
Because he's the leader of the party in Edo State. So he has to come out for his party, and canvass for his...
But doesn't that also reflect that his loyalty will lie, to Adams Oshiomhole as against the people of Edo State?
No, it doesn't mean that I will be loyal. Okay, so Peter Obi came into Edo State to campaign for Akpata. Does that mean that if Akpata eventually becomes the governor, he'll be loyal to Peter Obi? No. Even Peter Obi is not even from Edo State. Adams Oshiomhole has been vocal, and has moved around and has canvassed for the candidate of his party because he is the leader of the party in the state. As simple as that.
All right, I understand we need to go on a quick break. When we return, of course, we'll pick up. Just stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. This is still Politics HQ, and we have been discussing the forthcoming Edo polls to hold this weekend in Edo State, Nigeria. I still have my guests with me, 3 of them virtually joining, and 1 with me in the studio. Let me bring in Dr. Sam Amadi into all of this conversation. I want to believe you've been following. What do you have to say, particularly as regards the issue of Godfatherism here?
I think we need to be less superficial. Look, Godfatherism as teleguidance is different from leadership succession. We take, for example, Lee Kuan Yew constructed the Singapore, and oftentimes they have designated successors. And Godfatherism is a problem in Nigeria because those who appoint leaders oftentimes want them as proxy to continue their own reign. So I'll give you 3 examples, for example. If you look at Akwa Ibom, Udom Emmanuel brought the new Pastor Onon, who has did a good job. Udom has did a good job, but ever since I've not heard about Udom in Akwa Ibom doing things, commissioning things. So he walked away, but he had a responsibility to probably choose the best person from his own party, his own view, campaign for that person. So I want to put this way. Edo State has to reject Godfathers if there's evidence for them that a particular candidate is a Trojan horse, is somebody just set up to be a conduit for a Godfather, then they have to fight that. But a leader will be irresponsible not to think about who he hands over to, not in terms of predeterminate. Voters have to choose. But you have to look at your party and choose who you think is the best person.
Okay, but I'm going to come in here in just 30 seconds. Yeah. So how would you describe what is happening in Rivers State between former Governor Wike and the current Governor Fubara? 30 seconds.
Absolutely. Good point. Look, first, why did you choose Fubara? A low-level officer, you promoted him to accountant, he worked under you, he was a financial officer, you banished every other person from competing. You bought firm for them, and look at the pedigree. Someone like Asue, for example, is somebody who, like his candidate, his PDP guy said, who has made his profile. By the way, Adams brought, I knew when I was NEC chairman, and I was dealing with Adams in Edo, I saw that the current governor, who came from the private sector, was part of the honorary advisors. So I wasn't surprised that he became the governor. So if you ask me, that the key issue for Edo is competence. I've done assessment across the state. Edo has incredible human capital. They have invested in human capital. They have the best innovation center. The Popol Odegu Public Service Academy is great. They need a leader who can fit in and drive it. So they have to make a choice. Godfatherism is not good. It's when the person is brought in and the people knew that this person is brought in to become a proxy. But the people can, if the governor makes a right choice, I give the example of Udom. If you make a right choice, think about also Ababio, who brought Udom. Udom was secretary to government. He did well. So it's a question of the competence, the sincerity, like my colleague, my friend said, and their acceptability and the political dynamic. So Godfatherism is bad, but successor, planning and preparing a successor is part of leadership.
All right, let me bring Mr. Olu Martins into this conversation. We are pressed for time. Just quickly, what will be your final comments on this, particularly on some of the concerns ahead of Saturday in the area of security in particular?
Okay, thank you very much. Again, I feel for my friend who's in the studio there with you, because you say Adam Soshombole is the leader of the party. It doesn't mean that you should speak for, I mean, they asked blind Bartimaeus, how did your eyes, or they asked his parents said, ask him is of age. My father is the leader of my family, in the sense that the general family, but I'm an adult now, and I speak for myself as an individual. I think what the Edo people want to hear from is the man who opted to be governor of the state. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. And so if you want to stay in the kitchen and you cannot cope with the heat, and you need to leave the kitchen, I do not subscribe to the fact that somebody must now be subordinated to watch while somebody speaks, for him. And even the man himself said that whatever his leader, Adam Soshomole, tells him to do is what he will do. I don't think that is, fit and proper disposition for a state as intellectually vibrant as Edo State. And that's why Godala has always been there. Organized private sector people don't make a lot of noise.
Olu Martins, let's make this really brief.
He was there, just a minute, sir. No, just a minute. Sir. Okay. I need to make this point because you have interrupted me a couple of times. I need to make this point. Now, he was there in the 8 years of Adams Oshiomhole. Adams Oshiomhole himself said it. He's been there now. He's been there throughout the 8 years of Governor Obaseki. So, properly speaking, he's been in the corridors of power, albeit in the shadows, for 16 years. And that doesn't make him, a greenhorn by, any means. And like I tell you, we have made leadership in this country, simplistic. Organized private sector is more complex because they are profit-driven, essentially. Government is not for profit. And the business of making, money of being, profit-driven is more complex than, the business of, presiding over common patrimony. And I maintain, that state, their companies are more complex because of the way, they are built. So I want to be able to tell the security agents that they must play professionally, because like Dr. Sam Amadi said, there's agitation in a football field if the referee appears to be pandering to the whims and caprices of one of the teams. But if the security agents, because nobody is going to carry a gun, nobody is going to shoot as much as a knockout, if he doesn't think that the security agents will protect him. But if you go into an election where the security agents are professional and they play by the rules of engagement, everybody will, like we like to say in pidgin, shocking. In 2020, as much as we made noise in Edo State, nobody fired a shot because at that time, the security agents, the rules of engagement, the Riot Act was read to them. And
Mr. Olu Martins, I'm afraid we need to go.
Without shooting a gun.
All right, we really need to go. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you, of course, for your contribution. I'd like to say a big thank you, Dr. Sam Amadi, Director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Thank you for your time. Of course, Barrister Monday Mawa, thank you also for your time. Oni Olusegun, thank you for your time, and also Mr. Olu Martins, thank you for your time. It's been a great one on today's episode. In case you missed out, you can actually catch up on our YouTube platform. The name is News Central TV. You can also follow us across social media with the same name, News Central Television. You can follow me personally at Dakpo Adegboye. The opinion of our guest remain theirs and not that of News Central. Good night.